It's Wednesday. You all know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Life in the Movies podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Ryan Cam. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This is the first pre-recorded episode of 2024, and Jacob and I are going to be doing something a little different. On this channel, I launched the 1999 Project, and it was Jacob's idea to react and kind of talk about the top 10 highest grossing movies of 1999. If we've seen them, what our thoughts on them. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll also touch on the Golden Globes 2024 winners. Award shows are just not really my thing, nor are they Jacob's thing, but Oppenheimer was shown a lot of love, so that was a good thing. And we'll be touching on The Punisher Season 1, Episode 3. But first, I have to introduce my co-host, Jacob Martin. Jacob, back in Tennessee, holding it down.
Oh yeah, recording this on a Monday. Started school again today. It's been good to be back to get back in the grind of things, and it's also good to be back here on your podcast to talk about some movies and other fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope New Year's went very well for you. It went very well for me.
Yep, New Year's was pretty good. Got to see the ball drop. We stayed up till midnight, and it was good.
I wanted to thank everyone who checked out the January 2024 preview live stream. That was one of the more entertaining ones in a while. Let's just say I won't be seeing a Bass Pro Shops the same way at any point in the future. Thank you, Jacob Collins, for doing that to me. But I love the live format because you just never know what's going to happen there. But before we dive into Golden Globe stuff, Jacob, is there anything that you've seen lately that you wanted to touch on?
Um, I haven't watched any new releases. I did watch a bunch of Disney movies back to back for some upcoming celebrating Disney videos. I'll cover them briefly since we got other stuff we're talking about tonight. I rewatched Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, a classic Disney movie from the 1970s, starring the late Angela Lansbury as an apprentice witch. You got David Tomlinson also in there as Mr. Brown, who's kind of like a con man of sorts, but he ends up he has a heart of gold and he joins along for the ride. The movie involves a lot of really good visual effects, really stellar animation sequence. I love the songs from the Sherman Brothers, and then the characters fight Nazis at the end, which is a lot of fun. It gets unfavorably compared to Mary Poppins, but it's still a good movie in its own right. And I think the movie is a little better than people give it credit for. I also saw The Little Mermaid: Ariel's Beginning. This was actually the last direct to video sequel ever made by Disney, although it's actually a prequel. It's set before the first movie. If you've seen the movie Footloose, you have seen The Little Mermaid: Ariel's Beginning. It's pretty much kind of a similar plot, although music this time is banned instead of dancing. And the movie is as dull as it sounds. It does have good animation though, and the movie is pretty inoffensive. Like this movie didn't annoy me like the live action remake did or the Little Mermaid 2. It's just dull and forgettable. That's about it. The weirdest thing this movie commits though is there's the characters are singing "Jump in the Line." You know that song that was popularizing Beetlejuice? That's the big song the characters sing in this movie, and it was a weird choice. But yeah, it was just not a good movie. Then I watched Inspector Gadget, the 1999 comedy starring Matthew Broderick as Inspector Gadget and Rupert Everett as Dr. Claw. I have no familiarity with the cartoon it's based on, but even with that, I can safely say Inspector Gadget is one of the worst comedies I've ever seen in my life. The movie was painfully unfunny. The visual effects are atrocious. The editing is downright bad in this movie. The movie moves at such a very fast pace. The movie is desperately trying to make you laugh with juvenile gags to where it's painful. And Matthew Broderick is horribly miscast as the main character. I didn't enjoy hardly anything about this movie. Rupert Everett was trying as Dr. Claw, but other than that, it's arguably one of Disney's worst comedies with their name on it. And then last, I watched for the first time Tinkerbell. This is a direct-to-video film that was released in 2008, spin-off of sorts from the Peter Pan movies. This movie was surprisingly successful that it spawned like 5 sequels, and I haven't seen any of these Tinkerbell movies. I was confused over the premise when it first came out that I wanted nothing to do with these films, but I finally got to watch it, and the movie is surprisingly decent. It's got good CG animation. It's more of an origin story of how Tinkerbell came to be and what she was like before, I guess, getting to hang out with Peter Pan and stuff. It does a good job of setting up the world building of where she came from, a place called Pixie Hollow. The different like classes, I guess, of people that live there, and they all have different jobs and different talents. And the movie, I think, has a pretty good message about embracing the best talents that you have instead of trying to be somebody you're not. I do appreciate that. The movie doesn't do anything spectacular with its plot or anything. It's pretty much a familiar story, but I do like the message. It's got solid voice cast in there. And there's a little bit of emotion in there when the movie needs to. And plus, it has some good CGI animation. Nothing to write home about, but still a semi decent Disney movie that it made me curious to want to check out the other sequels. So at least it did that.
You know, I distinctly remember there was a Tinkerbell movie where Tinkerbell teamed up with the dragon from Neverending Story. Have you heard of that?
No, I don't think I have.
Hang on, let me look up this title really quick because I could swear.
That's wild if that was the case.
Oh, here it is. Tinkerbell and the Legend of the Neverending Story.
The Legend of the Never Beast.
Or the Never Beast, excuse me, but
Okay, I've heard the title, but I didn't make put two and two together.
like I could swear, and yeah, this I think like Tinkerbell had like a twin at one point. It was like Secret of the Wings. That's what it was called.
I think there's another one called the Great Fairy Rescue, and there's another one called the Pirate Fairy or something like that.
Yeah, so surprisingly diverse universe that Tinkerbell comes from of all characters.
Yeah, it's wild.
But as for me, I'll just run through a couple of mine. Just really just been, like I said, 1999 Project has hit the ground running, so just speed running through the ones I've watched there. Watched Purgatory, which was a TV Western from TNT. It was actually pretty good. It starred Eric Roberts and Sam Shepard. Basically, the premise is Eric Roberts leads this group of outlaws, and they end up going to a town where people can't use guns and they can't drink alcohol. And well, Jacob, should I like spoil like what happens? Because with a title like Purgatory, I think you might be able to put two and two together.
Go ahead.
So basically, everyone in the town of Refuge, Sam Shepard, Randy Quaid, they're all famous outlaws like Doc Holliday. That Randy Quaid plays Doc Holliday, and Sam Shepard ends up playing Wild Bill Hickok. And they're basically in purgatory, waiting because they have to wait 10 years to see if they can make it to upstairs or downstairs.
Gotcha.
It's a lot better than what you might think it is. It actually has a lot of fun gunfights. There's actual stunts done, which I kind of miss from my movies nowadays. So it's very much a TV movie, but I still think it was pretty well done for a TV movie at least. I watched Our Friend Martin, which was another TV movie released by Fox, and it was this weird Captain Planet inspired Martin Luther King Jr. movie. And I like the idea of it, but the execution was wild. The cast in this was stacked. You got guys like Ed Asner, Angela Bassett, Lucas Black, LeVar Burton, Danny Glover, Whoopi Goldberg, Samuel L. Jackson, James Earl Jones, Ashley Judd, and John Travolta, and Steve Urkel himself, Jaleel White. So there were a lot of people in this. And I think, like I said, I think I like the concept more than like the actual execution. It's not a bad movie, but just as soon as like the main character goes back to the 40s with like Martin Luther King in like his late teens, early 20s, I'm like, I think we've jumped the shark on this one. And this is not even like the last Martin Luther King movie I'm covering in the month of January 99. There's another one called Selma, Lord Selma, which was, I can't remember if it was The Wonderful World of Disney who did it. I know I have to cover one of those, but it was another TV movie. It was like 99 was just the year of like TV Martin Luther King movies. But I ended up watching In Dreams, which is a very bizarre thriller directed by Neil Jordan about Annette Bening, who has a psychic link to a serial killer played by Robert Downey Jr., and the two share dreams. It's as dumb as it sounds. And and the thing is, like, there could have been something there because at the beginning of the movie, she loses her daughter because, well, Robert Downey Jr. kills the daughter. Could have been something there, but as soon as all the dream stuff starts happening, I'm just like, this might as well just be a Nightmare on Elm Street movie because this is just dumb. And even the ending, I'll spoil the ending here for you, Jacob. Don't watch the movie, so I'll just tell you. Robert Downey Jr. goes to prison and she ends up invading his dreams and basically does like reaches in through the mirror and like smashes his face on the mirror like Freddy Krueger would have probably done. But while those movies are actually creative and scary, this was just dumb and the CGI was terrible.
Oh my.
And and then to cap things off, I ended up watching Your Name for the first time, directed by Makoto Shinkai. Literally everyone has recommended that I watch this movie, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't watch it sooner. This movie's incredible. Beautiful animation, beautiful story. Like when they're on that staircase, I was just like, turn around. One of you needs to turn around for my sanity. And when they do, it is beautiful. So everyone watch Your Name. Like that's your homework for the week.
Yeah.
And then to cap things off, I ended up watching a movie called Varsity Blues, which which is a football movie, starred James Vanderbeek, John Voight, Paul Walker, rest in peace. It's a really good football movie. I'll have more on that in the 99 Project video coming out on Friday. But just speed running through those. But
Yeah, Your Name is an incredible movie. I can vouch for that one. Also, when you reviewed those the first two movies you brought up, I watched that video. I totally forgot about Our Friend Martin. I remember seeing that in elementary school. So
really, what was that like?
I remember it being a kind of a weird movie. Like I was like, okay, it's cool. We have an animated Martin Luther King movie, but the time travel stuff was really weird though. Especially, I'll dive into this part. Just I don't care if I spoil this or not. But there's a part where the kids are shocked to learn that Martin Luther King was assassinated, and so when they go back in time, they convince Martin Luther King to go back with them to the future, which I guess would be the 90s. And because they did that, there's like this "It's a Wonderful Life" type paradox where all the things that was going on in King's time with all the segregation and the Jim Crow laws and stuff, that was still going on in the 90s and it was not good. And I get what they were trying to do message wise, but it couldn't you have just done like an animated biopic or something?
I was going to say, I remember like when I was in elementary and middle school, we would actually watch like big Hollywood stuff. Like I remember in like a history class, like to learn about like Abraham Lincoln, we watched clips from Lincoln. So like I don't know. It's just this weird like Linkar, this comic book reviewer sometimes reviews like bad PSA comics is like welcome to PSA hell. Like watching Our Friend Martin, I felt like I was in PSA hell. And this is not a bad movie by any stretch. It just like as soon as like Martin Luther King goes back to the 90s and they're like still doing the Jim Crow stuff, I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? I get the intent, but just the execution, I was just in like, what? Like, what is going on here? Like,
It was a weird movie. Man, I don't know on that.
I felt
Like
like
the
I
fact that
slipped.
they got all those prominent actors in it, just it's cool and all, but why this movie?
Like, just watch Selma. Like,
Yeah,
kids, if you're
Selma's a
watching
great
this,
movie.
like, watch Selma. That's a much better movie. But what have you all been watching lately? Let us know in the comments. Love to read what you have to say. But before we get into Punisher stuff, Jacob, let's go over some Golden Globe stuff. And neither of us watched it. I didn't care to watch it, neither did you. But there was a lot of Oppenheimer love shown, and we both love Oppenheimer, so I figured just speed run through the important winners. So in Best Picture in Drama, there was Oppenheimer, very good choice. For musical or comedy, it was Poor Things. Neither of us have seen Poor Things, so we can't really say whether or not that was a good choice or not. Best Director, Christopher Nolan, yay. Best Actor, Cillian Murphy, yay. Best Actress, Lily Gladstone, big yay from me. Jacob, have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon by this
I
point?
have not seen Killers of the Flower Moon just yet, but I know her performance got a lot of Oscar love, and I'm sure she probably earned no, I wait, awards love. I'm pretty sure she probably earned that because I've heard nothing but good things about her performance.
Yeah, she was very good in that. That was very well deserved. Best Actress in a Comedy, Emma Stone, again for Poor Things. Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. That was an excellent choice. Jacob, I know you probably haven't seen The Holdovers.
No.
See The Holdovers at your earliest opportunity. See The Holdovers. You will love it. Best Supporting Actor, Robert Downey Jr. Big yay. The dude deserves it. Best Supporting Actress, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. That was an excellent choice as well. Best Original Score, Oppenheimer, very good. Best Drama TV Series, Succession. I need to watch that. I mean, just add that to like the endless like TV shows I need to watch list. Best Animated Feature Film, The Boy and the Heron, which took some people by surprise. I figured Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse had that on lock, but Hayao Miyazaki said, I'm just going to take that. I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but I figured it's really good. And then Best Box Office Achievement goes to Barbie. So yeah, good thing that at least the Golden Globes gave a lot of Oscar love, or
Yeah, I mean
Globe love, excuse me.
they I mean I that's some of their better picks in recent years. Like they made some weird choices in the past, like not like The Martian winning the best picture as a comedy. Like you picture The Martian as a comedy.
No, there was also there was also a thing where The Bear won for best musical or comedy series, and I have not seen The Bear. I've seen a lot of clips, but from what I have seen, it looks like the most stressful show on earth. So, like, where are the yuck yucks in a show called The Bear? Now,
Yeah.
Jacob, I know you haven't seen the show either. I haven't either. So, I mean, we're just like spitting in the wind here, but I'm just like, of all the clips I've seen, everyone looks sad and depressed, but I want to watch
I
it.
thought it was more of a dramatic show just from
Yeah.
what I've heard of it. Yeah.
But in any case, it looks like the Golden Globes got it mostly right. It's going to be interesting to see like that animated race is more packed than I thought because like all right, it's going to be Spider-Man all the way, but no, the Golden Globes are like, oh, well, let's give one to Miyazaki. He'll pay it forward. So that was a interesting choice, but I mean, good on him. The dude is a legend, so of course he deserves it.
Yeah, and anime doesn't get much love at the award shows. I think the only time the Academy Awards uh had an anime film win was I think one of the earliest times they had the category was when Spirited Away won back in 2002. So it's been good. It's cool that The Boy and the Heron had this surprise win. I haven't seen the movie either, but I've heard nothing but really good things about it. It's cool that Miyazaki went out of retirement once again to craft what maybe his last film. So
Yeah, well, I pass it off to all of you. What did you all think of the Golden Globes? Let us know in the comments. Love to read what you have to say. Well, Jacob, let's dive into The Punisher. This is The Punisher Season 1, Episode 3, called Kandahar. Frank skips the subtlety while interrogating Micro. Brutal memories of top secret missions shed light on Frank's past. So there are a lot of flashbacks in this episode while cutting back to Frank interrogating a naked man tied to a chair. So that's fun for somebody, I guess. But Jacob, what say you?
Yeah, I was kind of mixed on this episode. I'm not gonna lie. There was some suspenseful stuff in it, like the interrogation stuff was pretty suspenseful at times. The whole guy getting strapped naked to a chair gave me Casino Royale flashbacks. I don't know if that's the best comparison because Casino Royale, that scene was brutal. But I guess they were trying to pay homage to that in a weird way. I don't know. I
Yeah,
like
but while that scene was legitimately like still freaks me out to this day, the
yeah,
entire time I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, Frank, I get it, you're looking to send a message, but can you just put some pants on the guy? I mean, like, come on. It's like, and it's not like we can see the nudity. It's just like, what is the purpose of all of this? That's what I want to know.
yeah, he doesn't really torture him that much either. Like if he was trying to go the Casino Royale method, I could see why he did that. But he just had him sit there with no clothes on, and then he escaped and drugged Frank, and he does nothing to Frank after he knocks him out cold, which confused me. Like, why didn't you tie him naked to a chair in revenge or something? Like that would have made more sense.
Yeah, the only thing that happens is that the guy's like, I think we should team up. Like for 40 minutes, like we have been here. Like, and you've been tied to a chair. It's like, I think we have the same enemies. Let's work together. I'm like, yeah, I've seen tag teams come together with thinner motivations than you guys. I'm like, it's just, it was a weird flex. Like, it's a weird whole thing. And I appreciate what they did with like, fleshing out more of Frank Castle's backstory with his army
Yeah,
days. And it's always nice to see it's always nice to see his commanding officer played by Clancy Brown. It's always nice to see Clancy Brown in anything. But just I don't know. It's just strange. I feel like they wasted a lot of time here.
yeah. Like I agree, the best aspects of this episode are the flashbacks where we actually get to see Frank in the army. We get to see, you know, his reputation play out and why he is the way he is, and then like pretty much the mission that went wrong that pretty much got him pretty much against the people that he was working with. I thought like the build up to that I thought was done very well. Besides kind of the frustration with the interrogation stuff, I also think they're starting to have too many subplots with characters I don't really care about. There was this whole thing. We set up this one guy who was in Frank's friend's support group, and we see that he's starting to get mentally unstable. We get two scenes with him, and like, what does this have to do with Frank Castle and the Punisher? This just seems like a weird, random subplot that just, I guess, kind of throwing in there to say maybe Frank, I don't know, maybe he's not alone in this. I don't know what they're trying to say here, but I just thought that was like a weird subplot that didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, that whole thing with like the support group and the guy blatantly wearing an NRA shirt, like subtle like as subtle as a brick to the head right there with the show's commentary. So like and that's fine if you want to have it there, cool, but I'm just like the dude's literally wearing like an NRA shirt and he presents like a pamphlet to the guy being like, I get it. And I'm just like again, I'm not saying that the commentary itself is like bad. I guess my point is that be a little more subtle with it. I guess that's my point. But I mean,
Mm.
I guess it's 2017, so I guess it had to be about as subtle as just like being like, "Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it?"
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I was getting a little more into this show. There's good ideas in here, and I'm John Bernthal is doing an excellent job in this, but I think the show's getting too convoluted for its own good, and I'm struggling to piece together like the mystery of everything and who's double crossing who. I wish they tightened up they tightened the script a little bit to make it more straightforward.
I feel like they have this show has this energy of as wide as an ocean but as deep as a puddle. Like they're trying to like make all of these things important when it's like everything with Frank is important and then the rest is just kind of there. But we're only 3 episodes in. I feel like there is enough time to where they can like trim things off. But if we have this is giving me a little bit of Iron Fist energy, and that's not the energy that any of these shows need, unfortunately.
I don't want to. I don't want to revisit the nightmare that was Iron Fist.
No, neither do I. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of Punisher Season 1, Episode 3? Let us know in the comments. Well, Jacob, let's get to the main event for the evening. And this was your idea, so I appreciate you pitching this. Since I did start the 1999 project here on the channel, it was Jacob's idea to talk about the 10 highest grossing movies of 1999. And it's going to be interesting to see what you think of these movies and what I think of these movies. So let's start off, Jacob, with number 10, The Blair Witch Project, which made $140 million and made a little more than that, 140 million and 500 something, but just well north of 140 million. But I've always liked the Blair Witch Project. There have been some people who are like, oh, it's overrated, and like I get it, but that movie always comes across as really creepy to me. There is a lot of like energy of people just stumbling around the forest, but then you get to like the final 15 minutes, you're just like and you're just like like the girl gets like really up close to the camera and the iconic scene, and then the dude standing in the corner, and then you just with the knowledge of just like the marketing campaign that went into it of the oh my God, like they did the wanted posters, not the wanted, but the missing posters at Sundance Film Festival is one of the more unique marketing campaigns of all time. So I get why people wouldn't like this movie, but I've always defended the Blair Witch Project.
I've actually never seen this movie. Like, obviously, I've heard of the film. I know about the marketing campaign and how it launched the found footage genre. I don't know. I've never really gotten the opportunity to see this movie. I'm not the biggest found footage fan. To me, it's too much of a gimmick, so I don't know if I'll get into it as much. But I guess it was a groundbreaking movie for its time, and I guess it deserves its respect among horror fans.
I feel like found footage gets a bit of a bad rap because I've actually last year for Scary Mania I had John Marr from the Why We Love Horror Trivia League. He runs that whole league and he's doing the John Versus series now, which is a lot of fun. He's reacting to really bad horror movies like the stuff you would see on the Sci-Fi Channel, like those kind of bad horror movies. But he recommended VHS to me, which is I guess it's a found footage anthology movie, and it was actually quite good. And that movie launched the guys that did the latest couple of Scream movies. They're known as Radio Silence. I can't think of their individual names. It's Matt Opinelli and I can't remember the other dude's name, but they're known as Radio Silence. Jacob, you know who I'm talking about,
I
right?
know who you're talking about. I forget their names too. I'm just used to calling them radio silence.
Yeah, Ty West also directed a segment of that movie. Uh, David, the dude who crap, I can't remember. But long story short, VHS had a lot of like big time like horror names in today. That movie kind of launched them. So VHS is very underrated. And I think the found footage genre just in general gets crap done sometimes justifiably, other times like not so justifiably. I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, there's still a lot of creativity here. It's just a matter of who does it. And just for the record, before we do move on, the Blair Witch Project had a budget of between $200,000 and $750,000, and it made domestically over 140 million. I'd say they made a nice tidy profit with that.
Yep.
But now at number 9 is Runaway Bride. This was directed by Gary Marshall and starring Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. I will be watching this eventually, but as of now, I have yet to see this movie. Jacob, have you seen it?
I've not seen it either, so I can't say much.
Interesting. Well, let me take a look in what that what that budget was because I am legitimately curious. Be interesting, like if a movie like this were made, like say today, like how it would do, because it was made on a $70 million budget and it made, according to Wikipedia, over 300 million.
Oh,
And
wow.
according to Box Office Mojo, it made total gross 152 million. So I assume that's taken out for marketing and all of that. But it would be interesting to see like if that movie were released today, how it would do. Because as of this recording, we got a movie in theaters called Anyone But You, starring Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney, that started off kind of slow, but has garnered a bit of legs. I have not seen it. Jacob, I imagine you have not seen it
No.
either, but it's gotten some sort of middling reviews, but it has made some amounts of money and in a year being 2023 where almost no movies made money. So it'd be interesting in like this environment to see what a Runaway Bride would do.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know much about Runaway Bride. I've heard of the title for years, but just never seen it.
Well, next up is a movie that I believe we both have seen, The Mummy, starring Brendan
Oh yeah.
Fraser and directed by Stephen Sommers. This movie grossed, get onto the right screen here. This movie grossed over $155 million. And I have not seen the movie in a while, but what I remember of it, I really enjoyed it. It's it's a dumb, cheesy, like monster movie. They basically took The Mummy starring Boris Karloff and they made a gonzo version of it. But that's kind of why it works. It's fun. It's a swashbuckler, for lack of a better word. Brendan Fraser absolutely crushed it. So did Rachel Weisz, and it was just, I don't know. I just remember the movie being a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've watched The Mummy so many times, and it's such a blast. I'm glad this movie's in the top 10 highest grossers. It's definitely a popcorn flick. Kind of shut your brain off at times, and if you're expecting the 1932 original, this is not that movie. This is more of like, what if Indiana Jones was in The Mummy, and there's a lot more fun to it. But they do keep a little bit of horror elements that made the original such a classic film. It's a good little mix. Definitely one of the, I guess it's probably one of my, even in my own top 10 ranking of 99, I think The Mummy is in my top 10. It's such a fun movie.
Rest assured, folks, The Mummy is a better Uncharted movie than the Uncharted movie that we got, and it is a better Indiana Jones movie than Dial of Destiny. I know what I said, and I'm sticking by it. But let's move on to number seven, which is Big Daddy, starring Adam Sandler and the Sprouse twins of Cole and Dylan. It's funny to know that like Cole and Dylan Sprouse are actually like big time actors. Well, I believe Cole is. He's gotten a lot of work. And he's actually going to be in a movie coming up next month called Lisa Frankenstein, which was written by Diablo Cody, the writer of Juno, and directed by Zelda Williams, the actual daughter of Robin Williams. But more on that in the February 2024 preview. But in terms of Big Daddy, Jacob, have you seen this one?
I have not seen this one.
It's been a while, but I remember liking it. It was in that weird pocket in the 90s where Adam Sandler and Dennis Dugan were actually like making some good things together. So I remember this movie being really well liked, but I have not seen it in a while. I'm definitely going to be watching it again, but I have not seen it in a while. And the movie made $163 million, slightly north of that. Was a pretty big take for a comedy. That's another movie that I'd be interested to see if they released like today, how well it would do.
Hmm.
Like just an unabashed, like straight up comedy, like how much money it would make. It maybe it'd be like just one of those that just went straight to Netflix. Who really knows? But let's move on to number six. And this is a movie that we both have seen undisputedly, Tarzan. This movie
Yeah.
made $170 million, and I love Tarzan with every fiber of my being. This movie is awesome. It's got beautiful hand-drawn animation. Phil Collins crushed the score. I believe we talked about it. I believe in our underrated anime or in our underrated Disney podcast episode, I believe. So I don't want to talk about it too much, but Jacob, I mean, Tarzan's awesome, right?
Yes, Tarzan is awesome. It's actually in my top 10 animated Disney movies. It's such a fantastic film. Like you said, the animation, the songs, the storytelling. It also has one of the most brutal Disney villain deaths, and the movie is still rated G. So it gets a little bit of extra points for that.
Honestly, Tarzan is kind of dark because we see Tarzan's parents die in a shipwreck in the beginning. Sad soundtrack to the song Two
No,
Worlds.
they get eaten by a tiger or a
Oh, that's
leopard.
right.
I mean,
Yeah, I
Frozen was the shipwreck.
oh, that's right. I was getting my Disney movies confused. They're
And
both
then the villain Clayton accidentally hangs himself, and you see his shadow.
God, that is like burned into my brain. That's a visual right there. But
Yeah,
let's move on now to number five, which is The Matrix. We both have seen this. We both love this. This movie
yeah.
made 171 million dollars. And you did a big Wachowski sibling series on your channel, Jacob. So I don't know if like you can debate on this with me or not, but I feel like the Wachowski siblings are the very definition of a one-hit wonder. They had The Matrix, and then they just kind of petered off after that.
Um, I would say to a certain degree, I enjoyed the original three Matrix movies. I thought they were all enjoyable. At least the three have a beginning, middle, and end, even though I think the sequels take a bit of a downgrade. But the first movie is still their best film. And also, if you haven't seen Speed Racer, I think that's an underrated film that the
I
Wachowskis
legit
made.
forgot that they made Speed Racer because I
Yeah,
love Speed Racer as well. So I retract my one-hit wonder statement, even though
yeah,
Speed Racer bombed at the box office. That movie is just a work of art.
yeah. But
So
The Matrix is a great movie. I would say it is still their best movie by a long shot. I love the visual effects in that movie, just how groundbreaking it was with the bullet time and everything. Really good story as well, and I think it helped continue to make Keanu Reeves such a great action star. And it's probably one of his best characters is Neo.
he already had a pretty successful career going into The Matrix, but that just sent it into the stratosphere.
Mhm.
But let's move on now to number four, which is Toy Story 2, which did not make 200 million, but it made 199 million. Like it was literally tapping on the glass, like the glass ceiling of the $200 million range. But I've said it before in other places and I'll say it again. Toy Story 2 is my favorite Pixar movie. I'm sure that arguments could be made for like the quality of other Pixar movies, but Toy Story 2 to me is just a work of art, like from top to bottom. Like When Somebody Loved Me by Sarah McLachlan never fails to bring a tear to my eye every single time. You got Tom Hanks, you got Joan Cusack, you got Kelsey Grammer as Stinky Pete, you got Tim Allen back as Buzz Lightyear. You got a great little subplot there with the whole balance of do you stay with like your kid forever, even though you know full well that the kid will grow up and will get rid of you, which kind of sort of happened, or do you go to a place where you will be loved by kids forever? And there are no easy answers. I love this movie because of that. It presents that question as not a, oh, you clearly do this or you clearly do this. There's actually pros and cons to every move. It's complex. And this movie represents Pixar at its finest, in my opinion. And I'm sure that people will be like, this is my favorite, this is their favorite. And I'm more than happy to say that like Pixar has had very few like misses. So whatever your choice is, I imagine that it's going to be like, say, you may have it, go ahead. Like Incredibles, like Up, like things like that. My favorite is Toy Story 2, and I'm planting my flag on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm planting my flag at The Incredibles as their best Pixar movie, but Toy Story 2 is still a really good movie.
I mean, Incredibles is still a really good choice, so I can't blame you for that. But Toy Story 2 is just awesome. It's the best of the Toy Story movies, and I love all of them, but two's the best.
Yeah, you pretty much said all I needed to say about 2. It's a great Pixar sequel.
Well, now on to the top three now at number three, and I had to do a bit of a double take, but it's true. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, made $206 million. I could not have
This was
seen that
this
one
this
coming.
was number this was number 3 on the ranking.
Number
It made
three.
more money than The Mummy, The Matrix, and Tarzan.
Yep, apparently.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I have not seen Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me. I haven't seen any of these movies, to be quite frank. But I've they're pretty beloved. So from what I've seen,
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen any of these movies either. All I know is Mike Myers, and he plays like multiple roles. I know that. And I think Madonna did a song for one of the movies called Beautiful Stranger, and it's actually quite good. It's one of her more underrated songs.
hang on. Let me look it up really quick. Let me just to be sure, because curiosity has me. Austin Powers, The Spy. Here we go. So, Madonna, you say? Beautiful Stranger by Madonna. This song won a Grammy Award in 2000. So yeah, you were right on the money about that.
So it came from that second movie.
Yep.
All
And
right.
I think Beyonce was in one of them, right?
I think she was in the third one. I think I saw the Nostalgia Critic video where he covered all three in one video, and I think she was in the third one.
All right. Well, I haven't seen it, and well, I'm gonna be interesting to see it. But coming in at number two is The Sixth Sense at
Okay.
$276 million. Still M. Night Shyamalan's best movie. And I'm a Shyamalan apologist of sorts. I don't think he's as bad as some people make him out to be. He's made a lot of crap in his time, but he's also made some genuine, like, gems. Sixth Sense is one of those gems. And it still remains just one of his best, like, one of, if not his best movie. And a horror movie made over $250 million. Today, that's not so crazy with like the Conjuring stuff and all of that. But in 99, that must have been just like a what? Like it's just a mind-blowing thing. And it got a lot of awards love too. It was even nominated for Best Picture. And it didn't win, but it was nominated. And I think Haley Joel Osment was nominated as well. Well deserved. But
Yeah.
Sixth Sense is just quality right there.
Yeah, say what you will about M. Night Shyamalan, but I do agree this is his best movie. Even with the whole famous plot twist at the end of the movie, whether it's been spoiled for you or not, it's still a great movie, even without the twist. Like, there's already some really good stuff in there with Haley Joel Osment seeing dead people and trying to reconnect with his mother, and then Bruce Willis trying to help the kid out and stuff like that. The twist takes an already good movie and makes it even better, and it makes you rethink the entire movie. And even rewatching the film multiple times, like knowing the twist, you can see, oh, okay, this is what actually happened, and it's you see the different scenes play out a little bit differently, knowing what the twist is, and it doesn't hurt the quality of the movie.
Absolutely. And just what gets me, like the twist is fantastic. It's easily Shyamalan's best. But the scene that gets me is when Haley Joel and Bruce Willis are at the party, and he sees like the little girl like with the videotape and the puppet show, and then you realize that the mom poisoned her, and like the dad's realization of it. That scene breaks my heart every single time, Jacob.
Yeah, that yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. When you get to that, I'm like, whoa,
And then
Shyamalan wasn't pulling any punches.
we get the scene in the car where Haley Joel and Tony Collette have their scene, and that whole thing is just great.
Mm-hmm.
I may rewatch it later, but for number one, and this comes as no real shock to me, Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace,
Yeah,
which made $430 million, and north of that, but 430,281,928. I've had such an up and down relationship with the Star Wars prequels, but I think as I sit here now, they are flawed, but when they do hit, they hit hard. And so, and really, Phantom Menace is no different. Yes, Jar Jar. Yes, midichlorians. But then you got Duel of the Fates, and you got that whole ending with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. That whole ending is just epic. And then just this is not like the worst, like this is not the worst Star Wars movie as I've seen from so many people. It's flawed, but when it does hit, it hits a home run. So it's flawed, but it is very good.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. Like I've had an up and down relationship with the prequels myself. I mean, I grew up watching these films and I do have a soft spot for them, but I can acknowledge, yeah, the writing's not the best. Yeah, Jar Jar's an annoying character. Yeah, the setup of Anakin as a kid was kind of weird. And then the midichlorians, I don't know what George was thinking there, but there's still some cool stuff in it. Like the world building's great. The John Williams music is fantastic. Duel of the Fates. You got some great casting in here with Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn and Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You got some great. I know people are mixed on the political stuff in this film, but I thought it was great seeing where the Republic was pre-Empire and the building blocks of that. I thought it was set up so well. I thought, oh, the pod racing scene is epic as well. There's a lot more good to this movie than there is bad. And say what you will about the writing, but George Lucas is a great visual director, and he really got to show that off with the technology that he was given at the time. And he made such a really visually, I mean, some of which is a little dated, I'm not going to lie, but still a visually great movie that complements the world of Star Wars so well. And also the fact, you have a show like the Clone Wars, which did such a great job of establishing other things in the prequel era that I feel like the Clone Wars was such a great show that helped improve the prequels as a whole on a thematic level. So I think I bring that up as well.
I low-key love the planet Coruscant. Like the whole idea of it is just the planet being one big city. Like there's
Yeah.
something about that that just intrigues me.
Yeah, that was such a good idea. And even, I'm not a big Jar Jar, I'm not a crazy big Jar Jar fan. I kind of tolerate him more so now, but uh, just even the design of the Gungan underwater city is just beautiful.
Yeah, and it also has a great all-time Star Wars line. The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. I mean,
Yeah,
you can apply that to so much nowadays, but
yeah, I
let's save
know.
that for another
Like
time.
every other tweet on Twitter, you could use that quote.
Exactly. But as I sit here and I will be reviewing this as it comes up a little later this year. But as I sit here now, The Phantom Menace is not nearly as bad as I've seen some takes be. Like, I get it, it's flawed for sure. It's nowhere near the quality of the original trilogy, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a bad movie. It's got bad parts, but the sum is greater than the parts, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I would say this is a 4 out of 5 movie in my opinion. Like, yeah, it is flawed, but there's far more admirable things in this movie than there is bad. And I admire the ambition that George Lucas brought, not just in this movie, but the prequel trilogy as a whole.
I agree with you on that. I think 4 out of 5 is a very good score. But I pass it off to all of you. Of all the movies we talked about, which one was your favorite? Let us know in the comments. Love to read what you have to say. And Jacob, thank you so much for doing this with me every week. We've been doing this now for 2 years. We passed our 2 year anniversary and we are approaching our 100th episode. I can't believe it myself, but I am so grateful to have you as a podcast partner. You are one of the best people in this whole space, and I wouldn't do it without you. So I thank you. But tell the people where they can find you.
They can find me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Facebook, and you can of course subscribe to my YouTube channel. As far as stuff coming on my channel this week, I will upload my Celebrating Disney review of Pixar's WALL-E. That'll drop later this week. Next week, I will do my next Celebrating Disney live stream where I'll live stream some of the upcoming Celebrating Disney reviews. The ones that I talked about earlier in the stream that I watched, that's where I'll share my thoughts on Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Little Mermaid 3, Tinkerbell, and the Inspector Gadget movie, along with an additional movie. And also coming to my channel this Friday. This is going to be new territory. I've been starting to do more music stuff on my channel. I've done some live discussions with other YouTubers. I will have Scott from SoundLab Studios and Jason the Old Millennial are joining me this Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to start reviewing the Beatles albums together, starting with a review of the first Beatles album, Please Please Me, released in 1962. So if you're a big Beatles fan, be on the lookout for that video coming Friday. I'm so looking forward to doing something different on the channel.
Yeah, Jacob's channel will be linked in the description. Go give him a subscribe there. As for this channel, there's a lot going on. So, Road to Godzilla X Kong continues apace. 1999 Project is every Friday. This podcast is every Wednesday. Small Talk every Tuesday. So, a lot coming to the channel. I appreciate all of you for checking out the videos. I've experienced quite a bit of growth over the past month or so. So, I do appreciate it wholeheartedly. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. My heart is very full these past couple of weeks, and I can't thank you guys enough. But for Jacob Martin, my name is Ryan Cam. We will all see you in the next one. Take care.